All right, WRX GC8 steering wheel. Remove the factory one with an airbag and how to run an aftermarket wheel. Okay, there's a few ways of doing this. I'm going to explain it because I just went through all this. That way you don't have to go through the hassle. I've got three solutions here, all right? So I've got an NRG hub, I've got an eBay hub, and I've got an HKB hub made in Japan, all right? Look up online how to remove the steering wheel. It's got an airbag, so you need to take special precautions. So do those things when removing and or installing. Okay, I'm not responsible if you hurt yourself or you blow up the airbag in your face. All right, so we've removed our airbag steering wheel. The airbag's in there. I've just bolted it back in so that I can keep it all together for safekeeping. Okay, so let's just put that over there for now. We don't need that. So we've got our three solutions. Okay. The first one is just a cheap Chinese or Taiwanese steering hub from eBay that would normally work like if this was an old Toyota or something. You've got a ring here, which is galvanized steel, which is not the best for electrical conductivity. So ideally that would be copper. But in order to make this work, you need a wire coming from the horn circuit to touch on this, and then you need to connect your horn button to that. Okay? This is kind of the cheapest, dodgiest way of doing it, and it's also the most difficult. Okay, and you'll understand why in a minute. So take note looking at the back of that. This is an NRG hub. Okay, this, I don't know what model of car this is for. This actually came on that blue 97 WRX over there. This one looks a little bit better. It's got a copper backing to it for the horn button. I don't know why there's two wires, but there's two wires. It's got this funky situation on the back that doesn't line up with anything that I know of. Okay. So there's that one, and we'll get to the HKB one in a minute. Okay. When you remove your steering wheel, this sits behind it. This is called the clock spring. On a lot of modern cars, you need to use this, not because of the airbag, but because it's got the canceller for the indicators. So when you do the steering wheel, there's kind of three things that you need to satisfy. One is able to turn the wheel and still be able to press the horn. That's what this is. And often people have a pin with a spring and they have a wire going off to the horn circuit. That makes the horn button work. The next thing is if it's got an airbag, which is what all this sort of stuff is part of, you need to either, some people just remove the bulb from the airbag light. You can get some resistors. You find the resistance of the airbag and you can hook up some resistors, or some better Boss kits come with an airbag light canceller, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then the third thing is you need something to cancel the indicator. So when you indicate right and you turn left, the canceller, which is on the back of this clock spring, that's what this piece here is, flicks the indicator back so you're not indicating right when you're turning left. Okay, very important. So, if I was to take it, so in order to fit these two, you have to remove this clock spring because this gets in the way, these doodads get in the way. So you no longer have this canceller, right? There's no canceller on the back there, and there's definitely no canceller on the back there. See these pins? On some older, hang on, I'll show you. So if I can get to it quickly. Yep. Okay. So this is off an older 95 WRX. Okay, and this is the canceller here. And see how it's got these pins here? They're meant to connect into there with the right type of boss kit. So this one doesn't actually fit because if you have a look there, that diameter is too small for this. But that's what those holes are for. That would fit some sort of car. Doesn't fit this older, earlier WRX. But provided these other connections here will work, you could, and I'm not saying that it would work with this WRX, but you could get one of these units and plug it in, and it might work. So that might be another way of doing it. You take out the clock spring, and the clock spring on the better car, on the later car, sits. It goes with this piece. So that might be another way of doing it. But anyway, it wasn't the case in this. It wasn't the way to do it in this case. All right. So what are we going to do? No canceller, right? I found this NRG hub, and it turns out somebody makes a 3D print for a canceller that will go on the back. Boom. Bob's your uncle. We now have the canceller part that the clock spring has. But we don't have a contact for the horn wiring because the horn wiring in this car goes through this clock spring. So what are we going to do? We can't use that. We could. If it was a race car, you could use that. You don't need a horn. You don't need the turn signal cancelling. This one, we've got turn signal cancelling, but no horn. This is the proper solution. This was 90 Australian dollars from Japan. If I bought this in Australia, it would be $200. But they're worth the money, and you'll understand why in a moment. So this is what you get. A zip tie, important. Instructions, they're in Japanese, but you just use Google Translate. Follow the instructions, read all the warnings. This is just a retainer ring for the horn. Here's our hub. And if we actually look at the diameter of it, that was another problem with this one, was this diameter here was way too small, so there was a big gap around the plastic steering column pieces. So this is the proper size for the steering column. And if you have a look in the back here, it's far more elaborate. See these holes? See these holes? You can't see these holes. Just there and just there. Guess where they go? They align with your clock spring. So clock spring goes like this. That goes at the bottom. This goes on. And it pops on like that. Okay, that's what those back bits are for. And so now you've got the clock spring, you've got the canceller, and in order to do the horn, it comes with this little wire. That plugs in there, and comes through the steering boss to your horn. Boom, that's your horn sorted. It obviously needs to be connected into the car down here, but that's your horn. And then this particular one has two types of airbag cancellers. So one with female pins and one with male pins, depending on what car it's going into. So mine will use the female pins. It goes to, I think there's 3 pins, and it goes to the center and the far left. Okay, that plugs in. In fact, oh no. Okay, so this one might actually go in there, and this one might actually go to where this connects to. I'm not quite sure, actually. Anyway, I'm going to figure it out. But it's got all the shit. It works properly. This diameter here is the right size. This fits with the clock spring. Your zip tie is to zip tie all this wire up inside the steering column. And then it'll take either a Nardi or, this is a Vertex wheel that has a different 6-bolt pattern, but it'll take either. So that's the proper way to do it. It's a little bit more expensive, but it saves so many headaches. So there you go. That's how to remove the factory airbag wheel. If you want to keep it aside and keep it good, then when you sell the car, you just put the airbag wheel back on. You can run your aftermarket wheel and not have an airbag light. You'll have proper indicator cancelling, etc., etc. Right, so there it is, all installed now. I haven't put my horn in yet, but there we go. I also haven't connected the battery yet. That's why there's no light. I forgot, I probably should have mentioned this. This Boss kit is OS224. OS224, it's for GC8, GF8 with airbag. So, yeah, if you got one with an airbag, this is the one you need. If you don't have an airbag like my blue car, you get the one for GC8, GF8 non-airbag. But the resistor was 2.2 ohms. I measured it before I put it in. It's sitting up in here. And you need to have the airbag wiring connected back up underneath, as well as the horn. So your resistor goes up here near the steering wheel. The 2 pins go in, and then you click this in. This is for your horn, and you need to have the airbag plugged in down here, and you need to have the horn wire plugged in down here. I haven't actually tested the horn, but I'm pretty confident it'll work because I just plugged it back in as per factory. I'm going to go find a horn button. But yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful, leave us a like. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and all that kind of stuff. Oh, and click subscribe to keep up on the things that are happening with my WRXs and, oh, you can't see it, the Cresta out there. Yeah, Cresta. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for watching.